Hello, everybody. Welcome once again. This is your hostess, Vandana Joshil from Team Lajja, inviting you to one more special bath, Lajja Ke Saath. Lajja is a forum for women. We started 5, 6 years back. We have started Lajja with the aim of helping women find themselves, helping them find the spark within them, helping them come out of their comfort zones and make something of their lives. We are wonderful women, we are wonderful homemakers, mothers, wives. We manage our homes, we manage so many multiple roles. And in all of that, somewhere the woman in us is not seen. So Lajja is a forum for you women aiming and trying to, help you fly if possible. So yes, Lajja, today's talk is going to be a very special talk again, and it's going to be special because we are, uh, you know, we hear of so many professions that women pick up. We are doctors, we are we are doctors, we are teachers. There are so many professions that we pick up very easily. But when it comes to the armed forces, when it comes to wearing a uniform and going out there and battling, I think many of us are still a little bit shy. We love the enigma of an armed forces officer, of a male armed forces officer coming down the road. We think that's so amazing and that's so romantic. But what about the women who are out there working, on the field, in the battlefield, flying, and doing so much that we only look at them in the movies? So with that in mind, we wanted to bring to you, introduce you to a woman who's worn the uniform, who's been there on the battlefield, who's fought, who has flown a fighter jet. And so yes, without wasting any further time, let me welcome our guest today. Hello, Mithali. Welcome to Lajja.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you so much for having me on board. Thanks to you and to Antara for connecting us. Thanks a
Yes,
lot.
absolutely, absolutely. So let me introduce Mithali to you. She joined the Air Forces in the Flying Branch in 2005 and has had the honor of serving the country for 10 years. After her release, she worked with Humans India as a talent management specialist for 2 years. And then, motherhood called. She has two beautiful children, twins, 8-year-old twins. And so she decided to, hang up her uniform and, leave the corporate setup and stay at home, look after her children. And I think, there's the role of a mother is as challenging, if not more, than the rest of the roles put together. So right now, she's currently dealing in a venture in handloom saris, where she curates hand woven saris from directly from the rural weavers. It's from them that she gets it for us at a fair price, and then she sells them online and in exhibitions. She's also very talented with her hands, and she makes crochet products and sells them online. And she comes from a Fauji family. Her father was in the armed forces, and she's married into a Fauji family. Her father in law is in the forces, her husband is also in the Air Force. So, I mean, the what more can you ask for a woman coming from a family like that, who knows the reality of the kind of life that a Fauji lives, and yet decides to, hang in there and support a Fauji husband? So, welcome, Mithali, once again. It is our pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank
So,
you, dear. Thank you so much.
Mithali, before we get into anything else, let us just start with your journey. I want to know about, how you got into this कि मुझे भी force में ही join करना है. Why did you? What drove you to take up the armed forces?
So, like you just mentioned, Vandana, that my father was also in the army, right? He is a retired colonel. So ever since my childhood, I was born into the army basically. So ever since my childhood, I have been surrounded by these supermen and superwomen adorning the olive greens, and doing their tasks for the country and risking their lives around. And So I was always motivated. I was always in awe of them, that the dedication towards the country and the countrymen and everything. So I always say, that Forge is not a job. For being in Forge is a way of life, it is not. So I chose this way of life for myself also, like my father did for himself. So, and I chose the Air Force because, it gave me that adventure and that joy of flying as well while adorning that uniform, So, I chose the Air Force because of that. So it is a two-in-one win situation for me to be adorning the uniform, to be serving the country, to be flying, doing such a great job. So I was lucky enough to get that opportunity. Yeah.
And how about finding a soulmate in a Forge himself?
Yeah. So when I was about to join the Forge, his father is also in the army. My husband's father. So we were working together and we met. That is how we met actually. And after that, I joined the Air Force. So it just marriage, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're still very shy about that. How cute is that? Okay. Tell me the kind of training that you undergo to become, to join the Air Forces, to join the armed forces per se. I know I've heard that it is very tough, but, most of the time that's what people say that, बहुत tough है, बहुत tough वाली life है, इसलिए लड़कियों को नहीं जाना चाहिए and all of that. But when we have women like you who have been there, done that, who have faced it all, maybe this is the forum that we'll use it to encourage more girls to join us. So tell me about your training and what you have learned from your training.
So, Vandana, in 2003, I had appeared for my SSC. And after clearing SSB and the medicals, I joined the Air Force Academy in 2004 January. The Air Force Academy is situated in Dundigal, Hyderabad.
Okay.
So after joining, I underwent a rigorous training of 1.5 years, wherein the first 6 months are the basic training, that is that concentrates on your physical training and your general ground subjects and your etiquette and mannerism and the organization structure and everything that comes in the first 6 months, right? They toughen you up with the difficult exercises and all, physical exercises and all. And then the later two terms, that is the 12 months divided into 6 months each term. So they are dedicated to flying training for the flying branch. So there I learn how to fly a basic aircraft first for the first 6 months, and then we advance onto the transport trainer. So yes, the like you just mentioned that it is tough. The training is tough. And obviously, so all the defense academies in our country, be it the IMA, OTA, ASA, they're all churning out, young men and women to fight for their country in a war zone. It is not a cushy time, they have to work hard to reach that level. Wherein, if in the war zone, if they are in face to face with the enemy, they can sustain it and they can win it up for our country. And if required, they can even give their life for our country. So you have to produce those kind of emotionally, physically, mentally strong people. So obviously they will require that rigorous kind of training. And but it is not something to be afraid of. So many women before us have done it. So many after me are doing it. So it is not that you cannot, some other girl who decides to join the force, she may not be afraid of it. It is just that they, like they say in our training time, that it is all here. It is in the brain. If you think you can do it, you will be able to do it. So don't underestimate your strength, your inner strength, your mental strength. Just be mentally strong and go for it if you really are interested. And there is no better place, no better organization to take care of their women than Forge. I have seen the corporate world also. I have seen the, I am an entrepreneur now. I have seen that space also, and I have been in the Forge also. But as an organization, how the Forge takes care of its ladies is amazing. It's commendable. They'll make you feel at home. They'll even cater to your needs. Like my husband, he's a paraplegic. He's on wheelchair. He was flying an aircraft earlier, but he met with an accident. And now, to the extent that they have posted us together all the time. They have given us compassionate postings together. Otherwise, it is not a rule that we'll be posted together or something. But Air Force has been kind enough to support us and our family, and they take care of it because if they support the person, they support their officers and their men and women, then obviously we are also motivated enough to do our bit and give it back to the
Absolutely.
organization, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
yes, but please don't be afraid of it. That is what I would like to tell the girls out there, that if you have the will to fly an aircraft or to join the Indian Armed Forces, whether it is in olive green or in whites in the Navy or in blues in the Air Force, whatever your choice may be, please go ahead and go for it.
Okay. Yes. It's so amazing. You said about your superiors telling you that it's all in the mind. The question that I was going to ask you next is, are women really the weaker sex?
Oh, oh no, not at all, not at all. That era where women were considered the fairer, the weaker sex is a thing of the past, I think. Nowadays, women folk are doing, if not better, they are doing at par with their men folk. So, like, and we were talking about our training curriculum. The training curriculum for the female cadets and the male cadets is exactly the same. There is not even an iota of a they don't distinguish. She's a male cadet, she's a female cadet, he's a male cadet. इसको थोड़ा leeway दे दें. Nothing doing. You have to undergo the same physical routine, training routine. You have to undergo the same number of sorties to pass a particular test, and the criteria for passing the exams. Everything is the same. So I don't think that women, there is any leeway or there should be any leeway. We are doing much better than men in many aspects. Men are doing somewhere better. But we have to strike a balance. There are some things that men can do better, some things we can do better. We have to accept the fact and move ahead and do our best to, reach our
Absolutely.
goals.
Absolutely. When I got introduced to you and I was going through your profile, and I, read that you had actually flown a fighter jet, that it gave me goosebumps. It still does. So tell me about your experience, in the
Uh,
cockpit, and what is that rush that you get?
So let me correct you here, Vandana. When I was in the Air Force till 2015, women were not in the fighter stream per se. Now
Okay.
women have started. That time we were only in the transport or the helicopter fleet. So I have
All
been
right.
lucky to fly transport aircraft. The role that we undertake normally is to maintain the supplies of ration, armaments, and men and material to the front lines, basically wherever the
Okay.
army is. So, in my particular case, I've been lucky to be flying to Siachen, which everybody knows is the highest battlefield in the
Yes.
world, the most at the highest altitude, the battlefield. And I have even been lucky enough to serve our country to the southernmost tip, that is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So you can
Oh,
say that I have done the length and breadth of the country flying,
country.
and it is an amazing experience. The thrill. Yes, I have my counterparts in civil flying also, but the defense, when you're flying for a defense establishment, the thrill, the circumstances, everything is different, and it is so adventurous and it is unique. Every sortie is unique. You are maybe you may be under gunfire. You may be, there are so many different kind of scenarios where you require expertise, and I have been lucky enough that my seniors were there to guide me through all of these. And obviously, the special training that we get is through the Air Force is amazing. Yes,
Yes. Wow. So I stand corrected there. But even then, to be able to fly, to be able
yes,
to, ensure that our forces are stocked up and, they are prepared and all of that, that's so amazing. Uh, now, now tell me something.
Nowadays, we have started induction of women in the combat roles as well. So, like
All right.
the first batch of three lady officers last to last year, I think they got commissioned
Yes.
into the fighters only. If I'm not wrong, Flight Avni and Moana and Bhavna, they're there. And now even the women folks, they're taking up higher roles. They have got the PC, they are taking up higher roles as flight commander, like Wing Commander Dhami is there. She's the first lady flight commander. So
Yes.
they are taking up higher and better, bigger roles, leadership roles in the Air Force. And Air Force is very accommodating. And they respect your career aspirations, they respect your talent, and they work towards getting you up like that. So
That's so amazing. Now you have been in the forces yourself. You come from a Fauji family. You have gone into a Fauji family. How, and you are a wife, you are a mother. How do you handle all these roles? This is one question which is always at the back of our minds when we are talking to women who inspire, because they are out there, they are for the world to see, and everybody has put them on a pedestal. How do they manage that? So tell me, how do you manage your roles?
So, like you have mentioned that I am married into a Fauji family only. My husband is also an Air Force officer. My father also. So, I have been surrounded by people, like-minded people, right? They understand the nuances of my job. They understand that for a Fauji, whether it is a female or a male, the country comes first. It is not that for a lady officer, there is nothing like a lady officer. We are all officers. The academies are not turning out lady officers and male officers. They are turning out officers, right? So,
Yes.
hello, am I
Yeah,
audible?
we can. Yes, yes, we can hear you. Your screen froze, but we could hear you. Please continue. Okay, I believe with all this network issue,
Hello.
with everybody taking in the bandwidth, yes, Mithali, we can hear you loud and clear. Please continue.
Yeah. So, Vandana, so like I was saying that, so I've been surrounded with people who are, like-minded. They understand the demands of my job, and they have been very supportive. Yes.
But now that you're retired, retired from the forces, how do you feel? Do you, itch to go back there? Maybe, especially with all this, the tensions that are happening in our border. I think we lost her. I hope she reconnects again. All of you women out there, the reason why we are talking to somebody who is from the forces is because we believe that we need to encourage our girls, and as mothers ourselves, I think we can encourage our daughters to try for the forces, try for something new. We need our warriors, we need our front, we need as many people as possible, to serve the country. So yes, Mithali, I was asking you, uh, now that you're retired, how do you feel? Do you itch to go back there now, considering all the tensions that are happening at our border? I'm sure you must be having these conversations. How, as a retired officer, how do you feel?
Yeah, I definitely miss my uniform. I definitely miss the Fauji flying. But you have to prioritize things in your life, right? So now, right now, my priority is my two children, and we are working towards making them good citizens for this country,
Absolutely.
whom we can be proud of. When we grow, when they grow up, and we are old, we can be proud of that we have, made good citizens for the country. So that is our priority right now. Yes, definitely. If the nation calls, I would like to go back and serve the nation if the need arises. But yeah, right now I'm retired and I'm working on my children's currently.
Okay, so this is a question I just thought of suddenly. Now that you're retired, but do you still have that kind of a schedule that that you used to follow in the forge? Are you still as strict about all of that?
So yes, we obviously, once a 4G, always a 4G, right? So
Yes.
that thing goes into the bloodstream, so that the disciplined lifestyle and everything. Yes, we have to follow. We have to inculcate the same habits in our children also. And with the children, obviously, they have a set routine. Now you are also a mother, and like we were discussing, they have their set routines, right? 6 o'clock से लेके रात के 10 बजे तक we are TikTok on by the clock. अभी ये करना है, अभी ये करना है, अभी ये. So if that routine, that discipline is not there, then we cannot, bring up our children well. So yes, I try to follow it as much as possible, and I hope that things turn out good for the children and for the country. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you're doing wonderful. Okay, so now let's talk about your other venture. Now that we know you have done what your part for the country. Now you are going to the rural. You're going to our roots, and you are doing something wonderful with the weavers. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with the weavers of India and what your ultimate aim is?
Yes. So, rightly said, Vandana. I have started my own venture last year. It is in the name of Akriti Handlooms. I was sitting at home, and once you are a working woman, you itch to keep working, itch to keep exploring कि अब क्या करना है, अब और क्या कर सकती हूँ, how can I contribute more. So I thought of this venture wherein I go before this corona scenario happened. I used to go to the villages to meet the rural weavers, and I used to curate sarees, handloom sarees from them, and I sell them forward in the exhibitions. And I have my online listing portals also on FB and on Instagram where I sell these sarees. Once I started going to these villages and interacting with these weavers, I realized that there is a big gap, if, from the weaver, the person who is doing so much mehnat, and from that spinning that yarn till that weaving of that sari, and when it reaches, there is in price also, sometimes in the quality also, what the customer is promised, he's not getting the same quality. So my aim is to get these weavers a fair price for their for the hard work they are putting in, and for the customer, from the customer side, the aim is that the price of the product, end product, should not be so escalated, that people shy away from buying handlooms.
Yes,
Handlooms for our country is our culture. It is our tradition. It has been going on for
absolutely.
ages and ages, and it is our duty to preserve that culture, to preserve that art form of our country. So I am working with them on these issues, how to cut down the cost, how to give the customer also good products at a good cost, and how to get the weavers also to get the fair price for their job. And side by side, we also want to create awareness for sustainable and for responsible fashion. You buy one sari in a year, but please buy a good one. Buy a cotton or a natural fiber sari. Don't buy synthetic products. Don't buy the power loom products, because I am not denying that the power loom gives is feeding so many stomachs. Power loom is working, also giving employment to so many people. But if we work towards work with the handloom people, then we realize that we are saving our earth also. We are working towards conserving our mother earth also, and we have to give it back to her. She has given so much to us for so many
Absolutely.
millions of years. We have to give it back. If now is the time, otherwise we'll not be leaving a good planet for our children, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us, as people who are in the cities, we tend to, go into malls, go into exclusive sari shops to pick up a sari, and I can tell you, only about 10% of the population actually knows the difference between a good handloom sari and a power loom sari. So, can you explain a little bit more on how would somebody identify, if you could, help us with that?
so when you buy a handloom sari, if you turn it on the back side, that is the rear side of the sari. If you turn the cloth upside down, you will be able to see that the thread is perfectly going from one end to the other end. There is no cut in the sari, in that embroidery. If there is some
Okay,
pattern, the pattern is not cut. If they make that pattern on a power loom thing, they have to cut the extra thread. That is the first and the foremost
okay, all right.
special for handloom sari. The thread will, because the weaver is taking the thread from one end to the other and weaving it, weaving one thread, one strand, and making a whole cloth out of it, right? And here we just put in rolls, and then we just, in the power loom, we just cut it later on as per our specifications. So that is the first
Okay,
and the foremost. Then there are very many variety of handloom sarees actually in India. Every region has its own particular way of weaving, particular way of dyeing the cloth, particular hand embroidery. There is such a vast variety that if we start talking about each one of them, then I think we'll end up in not a 1 hour, we'll end up in a 10 hour or more session here. So buy from authentic shops that are giving that that look out for the handloom mark. Nowadays, GI tag has also come. That is a geographical indication. It gives that, like a Bhujodi sari will have a GI tag of Bhuj only. It is manufactured in Bhuj only. If you try to manufacture that kind of sari some other place, they will not be providing you with the GI tag, right? handloom mark is important. So all these for authentication of pure silk, the silk mark is important. So all these little factors the government is trying to put in to save our weavers from the piracy, but still we have a long way to go.
So for my understanding, we are all, I mean, besides you, there are also other women who are working with the weavers and, trying to save this dying art. So if everybody is noticing this, then why is something not concrete being done for these weavers?
See, it is a matter of supply and demand also. We
Okay.
are not a developed country. We are a developing country, developing nation, right? So majority, a lot of our population is in the lower middle class, you can say, right? So not everybody can afford a 60,000 rupee sari or, So power looms are producing cheaper material and at a very fast pace to supply to all the masses of our country. So that is it. So that is why there are many brands like good brands which are who are trying to now work with the weavers at the grassroots level and try to find out a solution how to cut down the cost of a sari so that it can be made accessible to the masses in our country.
Okay.
Earlier, what
Okay.
happened is the weaver used to wear, the community used to wear that only. Nowadays, the population is expanding, the demand is more. It takes quite a lot of time to make one sari, anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, sometimes even a year to make one particular sari. So the effort is too much. So obviously, the cost will also increase multifold.
Yes, absolutely. So where do you source your handloom sarees from? Where do you go? Which part of
Uh,
the country do you go to?
like I mentioned, I have been to Gujarat. I sourced from Banaras, from near Calcutta, Shantiniketan, and all those areas. I have some weavers in Kanchipuram also. So likewise, I'm trying to explore more and more. I'm like there's this brand working on Pateda Anchu sarees in the south of Karnataka. So I'm trying to work with them and source my sarees and all. So it's little by little, step by step, we are taking this ahead and hopefully in a couple of years we'll be able to cover the whole of India.
Yes, yes, absolutely, and all the best with that. And why I like to talk about all of this is because with the PM also, talking about make local and buy local, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for people like yourself and also for the weavers. Now, I want to know when you go to the weavers, how welcoming are they? Do they have, are you with suspicion? Or are they willing to listen to you? Are they willing to hear you out? Are they willing to part with their produce? How is it?
Yes, they are very open to new experiences. They are ready to collaborate and everything. But I don't take materials from them on commission basis. What I do is I buy directly from them. Wherever I go, whichever pieces I like, I pick up. I pay the fair price then and there. I don't keep the
Uh,
pieces and then I wait that the piece will get sold and then I will send them the money. Why should I block a poor weaver's money for a long period of time? When poor thing can't even afford, they have to keep churning. They have to rotate that money to make more sarees, and so to give them work. You have to work towards. I work in this fashion. There may be others who have other business models, but my business model is that I pick up the sarees, pay them then and there, and pay them the fair price, and then whatever my mehnat is there, I put that margin on that, and I sell it in the exhibition. So
okay.
they are very forthcoming. They even want sometimes they tell me, you tell us the design, what you want us to make, we'll make
Wow.
that in bulk quantity. So I hope my business grows that much that I can give them work for the bulk quantities, in the coming
Yeah.
years. I'm, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's wonderful when somebody wants to do something for our like you said, costing is a big concern, and for authentic stuff, knowing because the general thing is unless you are in a high flying society, nobody really knows the worth of your sari. So you could be wearing a sari which is really authentic, which you have paid 60,000 for maybe, but if you are not in the right kind of crowd, they are just going to say, ये तो वहाँ पे भी मिल
Exactly.
जाता है. No, so I think
I had several such experiences when in exhibitions people come and tell me, why is this 5,000? I have seen the same pattern for 1,000 or less, And then I have to
yes,
sit in. don't mind explaining, but because it is creating awareness for the next time. Maybe that lady who's asked me this question now will be more aware and educated enough to be able to differentiate between a handloom and a power loom. So I sit with her and I tell her, see, this is the reason why, the worker has put in so much effort and he has made the sari in so much duration and this and that. So I am trying to do my bit in spreading the awareness about the handloom. Let's see how it goes now from here.
Yeah. Absolutely. This has been a wonderful conversation. Because I keep coming back to the Fauji background, can you share, is it possible for you to share one incident from your, time in the forces where, you came away with the feeling that, yes, this is something that I want the world to know. This is something that I want girls to know and, try for the, to try and invite them or encourage them to join the forces.
Oh, all the sorties that I have undertaken have been, they have been mind blowing. So I cannot pinpoint one particular incident like that. The whole Fauji life is an adventure, I can say. And I would invite all the girls
Absolutely.
to hop on the wagon and, come join the forces. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Believe in yourself. First and foremost thing I want to tell the girls is that, you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you're not confident about your own self, then who else will? You have to make the world understand your worth. So love
Absolutely.
yourself, believe in yourself, and set your goals really high, and do everything in your power to achieve those goals. So that in the end, you're not able to say, I didn't try enough. Try your best to achieve those goals, and success will be at your feet, right? So
Yeah.
that is one thing I want to tell the girls that yes, Air Force is a wonderful organization. It will take care of you if you give it to the organization.
I just for information's sake, if there's a girl out there, how does one enter the army? This is again something we know there are entrance exams and stuff like that. But if you can tell us how we go step by step, maybe more people. When there is awareness, there'll be more applications, hopefully.
Yes, yes. So nowadays, women can join the Air Force or the Army after clearing their examinations. That is the SCAT exam they have to give first. There are various streams. There is the flying branch from which I hail, and then there is a non-technical stream of the ground duties branch. There is a technical stream of the ground duties branch. So there are various streams, streams in the Air Force itself. So whichever you are qualified for, whichever you think you would like to join, you have to appear for an exam for that. Thereafter, if you make the merit list of that exam, then you're called for an SSB. If you clear the SSB, which is a 7-day process, I think, then you are called for your medical. If you're found medically fit to join the forces, then they'll call you, give you the call letter for joining the academy. So it is a little lengthy process to choose the right kind of candidate for the forces. But it is a fruitful process that's been going on for several years. There is a website called careeriaf.nic.in. So in case there are any ladies who want to learn more about the Indian Air Force, they can log on to this. They can check out this website, careeriaf.
IAF, yes.
CREER, career, iaf.nic.in. So they can check out this on this website, whatever information they want, the history of the Air Force, the opportunities available in the Air Force streams, whatever they want to know about the Air Force, they can check out. And I am available on the Facebook, on this forum. They can connect to me in case they want any guidance, or whenever they want to approach, if they want to find out something about the Air Force, I'm ready. I am always available.
Lovely, lovely. So all you women out there who are daughters who are growing up, all you young girls out there who are watching us, and I hope you are inspired enough, please go to that website or connect with Mithali. She's always available. Now, before we end this lovely conversation, I want you to leave our women, our girls, with 5 things that you want them to think for themselves and maybe make a difference to their lives. So give me 5 things that I can share with my women.
Yeah. So the first and the foremost thing, like I just said, is love yourself. Love yourself to the core. You are your own hero, first of all. So love yourself, believe in yourself, be confident about yourself. The second thing that I want to say is be a learner. Don't stop learning. Life is a learning process. Every day you must try to learn something new and learn something. Strive to be better. To better yourself as a human being, as a personality, as a professional. So learn something new every day. That is my motto in life. Third thing I would say is, be grateful. Be grateful to the society. Be grateful to your parents, to your family, to your friends for their support, to the organization you're working in. This is your bread and butter. Be grateful. And lastly, I would say, give it back to the society. uh, it is our duty, it is a moral obligation that the society is like a village which has brought us up. Now it is our duty, if we have reached a certain level, we are empowered enough, it is our moral obligation to empower other people, to bring them up, to help them come to a certain stage. So give it back to the society once you've reached a particular level. That is what I would want to leave the girls here with.
Wow, wow, that's so wonderful, and it's so amazing that it resonates so much with what Lajja has always believed in. Our founder Riddhi Doshi Patel always says, you have to love yourself, and if you love yourself, you know your own worth. Then
Yes.
then the rest of the world will also acknowledge it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Mitali. This was a wonderful conversation. We could have a longer conversation, but time is always a constraint. So thank you so much. We will be in touch. And all
Yes,
you
yes.
young girls and all you mothers who want your daughters to get into the forces, you know who to connect. She will be there to guide you. And thank you once again. Thank you so much, dear.
So thank you, Team Ledger, for having me over. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.